All right, we're down at the shop today. I was going to do a couple of machining videos, and during the machining, I had an airline rupture inside the machine. And unfortunately, it's not anything that I can find here locally, and with coronavirus going around, getting parts is taking a little longer than normal. Anyway, I'm waiting on some 10mm by 8mm. That's 10mm outside, 8 diameter on the inside. To get this machine up and running. It's basically the pop pusher, and that's down right now. Hopefully I'm not going to have a lot of trouble trying to get that reconfigured. Anyway, we're down here in the shop, and I thought I'd just shoot a quick video. A lot of y'all asked me about how the Kaizen foam worked out and my toolboxes and etc. I'm just going to go over a couple of my toolboxes and kind of how I have them laid out, and how the Kaizen foam worked out. Anyway, let's get to it. I'm going to start over here at my machining box. So this is a machining box. It's just a standard Cobalt. I'm sure you've seen it before. The upper section really not Kaizened, just using the default Cobalt tooling. Got some 1/4-inch impact stuff here. A couple of spare parts here that I have for another project. Bought a new pair of safety glasses the other day. A couple of wrenches that I use. This is some Loctite retaining compound. I use that quite a bit in assembling things. These are still little pieces from the air cylinder project where we replaced the air cylinder. This is obviously a vise. Typically I don't use this a lot on the mill, but I use it a lot on the lathe. This is just some brass material to prevent marring up parts. I keep all my Bondus T-handle stuff up here. A couple little spare parts. This is from one of the original prototype for the razor. I keep this up here for the razor mucks. My brother actually machined this out of acrylic, and I use this for test fits. Some dielectric. I use that for anything that comes off the machine that's already got wires on it. It's end up getting some dielectric grease. And just a couple of parts here. That's some GoPro and some little parts. I don't have all these drawers filled. These are, if you've seen past videos, I machine these holders. These are all my collets, and these are tap holders. I have a tap holder for pretty much all the sizes. I've got different size tap holders in the machine. So when I need to do a tap, I generally have the right sizes. Got a couple of spare studs for the holders that go in my BT40 machine. Again, this is another, just kind of show you what these look like here. I machined several of them out. So this is a Blitz 1 carrier, and you can see I made a boo-boo there. But it really doesn't affect the operation. And most of the stuff I make out of the scrap that I have laying around. Use these quite a bit. I don't know how many I've used out here. I don't know how many came in this to begin with. But I buy a lot of these. These are on eBay, Drill Hog. They got a lifetime warranty. Not a paid sponsorship or anything, but I really have had good luck with these guys and their tooling. Got a couple of various holders. This is a really big drill bit. I've got a drill bit set here and a cheap China drill bit set here. Two of those are in the machine right now. Those work good enough for what I'm doing. I don't use them a whole lot. This is most of what I use for measuring. So I've got a couple of calipers, here, a couple dial micrometers here. This is the one I use the most. Varying sizes. I've got some older. This is pretty old here. Old Testmaster. All the adapters I've got close. I don't know if that goes with this dial here. This is a Matoyu dial indicator. This is the Ames. I really like this Ames. For whatever reason, I can read this better. I don't know if this is a dial face, but if you kind of compare the two there, just a little bit easier to use. This I use quite a bit. Kind Can I give you a close-up shot? This is a number 700 Starrett. I'm not a Starrett expert by any means, but this comes in really handy for measuring inner diameters. It's really quick, really efficient. And I've got some old Char stuff. This stuff works pretty good until it doesn't. I think this one is it's still in pretty good shape. But I've got another one of these somewhere that it just doesn't work very well anymore. Keep my machinist level in here. Use this all the time. This is my tool setter. So basically you set this on top. This has a known height, and you will basically set the tool height. You will want to adjust that to 0 before using it. But I use that all the time to set tool heights in the CNC mill. Got a center gauge, got a nice little rule, a little bit wider rule. This I think I got, this actually got for Christmas. I think this brand is Win, but I use this quite a bit. Thread gauge set. Comes in really handy. You can buy those cheap on Amazon. This, you know, other than this one, this is probably the other one that I use really commonly. This has got the sharp points. You can actually get into a thread and get a diameter on a thread. Cheap knockoff Mitutoyo. This is not a real one. The easy way to check is you can look and see how many decimals it has on the inches scale. It should have, I think these have 4, and you know this one only has 3. It also doesn't turn off, but I use it all the time. This is actually a pretty good mic here. I don't know where I even got this, to be honest with you. I may have gotten this at Harbor Freight or eBay, who knows. But it's really, it's a longer unit, 12-inch, 300mm. Works really good. All of my dial indicator stuff I kind of have in a slot carved out. This is actually, let me see if this is, yeah, this is the one. It's a little sticky, but I've probably got the most use out of this particular one here thus far. Let's see if there's anything I'm forgetting. Obviously, you know, these, that probably not, yeah, there's one in here. So this is my spare hammer probe. I'm not going to jinx myself, but it's been a while since I broke one of these. But I have that one as spare. You pretty much have to have it if you have one of the hammers. Got a little cheap angle gauge back there. Let's see. Keep calculator, wrench. This is what you actually tighten the stud nut up with. Small wrench, various quick fold outs. Mainly the reason I have these fold outs is because a lot of times the bondage tools simply won't reach into something, and these will quickly. I don't remember where I got this, but actually this is probably like my favorite tap holder. I don't do a whole lot of manual tapping. Deburring, scribe. I think this is, yeah, this is a retractable scribe. And these are pretty handy. I think I got this at Lowe's. Silver strink marker. Basically, it's got like pencil lead like stuff that puts a silver mark on metal. And then a silver Sharpie. Got a screwdriver, a couple of files. Some of my bigger. I don't use these very much. I think maybe I've used these like maybe twice since I had them. But I do kind of keep everything with the units, the adjustment tool, the calibration rods. I try to keep those with the units. As you can see, most of this is in Kaizen foam. These are setup blocks. These are the vice jaws off the DX6. Right now I've got a set of aluminum parallels, some stones, and some 1, 2, 3 blocks. These are 1, 2, 3 blocks without holes. I actually do like these quite a bit. They're a lot easier for taking measurements off of than possibly getting in the hole. I use these quite a bit, these small blade blocks with a clamp. They work really well. I've got This one is the spare. There's actually another one that would go here. It's over there in the machine now, and it pretty much lives there. This, for those of y'all that are wondering, this is the Coolant assembly tool. You can do these by hand, but this makes it a little bit easier to get on. One thing I've learned about the Kaizen foam, try to mount your tool. I mean, you occupy your space, so this I actually flipped up because it would still fit in the drawer. You can fit a lot more stuff in there. See, this is just some various box stuff. I got a punch letter set. Pop this open here. So this is a cheap coaxial indicator. I don't really use this on the CNC mill. I use it quite a bit in the grizzly mill. I think I've probably used it 4 or 5 times just on manual jobs. This is just a parallel set that I grabbed up off of eBay or somewhere. If you have not seen, I don't know, this is a spare. So the big crash that I had of that big face mill that I had, this is the spare. So the replacement's in the machine. This is a spare. I haven't dropped another one. These I used all the time in the manual mill. Really like this product. I think I got these on Amazon or eBay for Christmas, and they are top notch as far as, like, if you need a holder for a regular T-slot, like Bridgeport or what have you. Basically, you slide these in a slot, you put, slide that up against your work material and tighten that down. They're spring loaded, and really great clamps, really inexpensive. And this is the company that makes those. So here I've got some locking gauges, simple telescopic locking gauges. Those work pretty good. They're cheap China specials, but they've worked when I needed them. Like I say, this whole thing's not full. I've got some larger stuff in here that I ran. These, I think I ran these too. Obviously, this one still has a wax on it. But I've done some heavy roughing of steel, and this is typically what I use. I've got a lot of various end mills here, plug tap, several tools to get end mills off. This is actually a specialty tool. Let me try to remember what I got this for. Okay, so this is a 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch by 1 carbide drill, and I believe I got this for a tapping operation where I was building jigs and I needed to drill a lot of holes. Again, some more tools. This is mostly lace stuff, yeah, I've got one of these left in the whole pack of these. Those go on that face mill cutter. Now this is most of the stuff for the lathe. Some more carbide drills. And I believe, yeah, these are some really small number 35 drills. So I keep stock of these. I don't remember where I got these. I bought a huge box of them. These are just, ready to go soft jaws. Pretty happy with this company. For anyone asking, this is Phasic Tooling Components. There's their phone number. I don't even know if they still exist. Really good deal on those. Here I've got a gauge set. And I've got other gauges that I use, but these are pretty much the ones that I really don't use unless I have to. I've taken really good care of this set. It is a relatively cheap China set, but it's accurate and it works really well. That's just some hose stuff for one of the pumps that I had, some instructions, and got some ERs here. Some of these are cheap China, some of them not. I got a bunch of these little parallels that all match, that have been surface ground to match, so I use those quite a bit. I think there's 2 of these actually still missing that are over in the Grizzly. Got one of these left. I machined several of these back in 2017. So basically these just fit in the vise. So I basically put on the gripped steel vise, and I'll actually grip this, and this is basically just a blank pallet. I don't use a whole lot of these anymore. These are mainly for production stuff. Almost everything I've been doing has been prototype stuff, and I haven't gotten it into anything other than what I've already made to where I've actually had to use this pallet. Thread gauge, grease gauge, you've seen this on a couple of other videos. You know, this is really cool to have if you've got, if you're working on heavy equipment or anything with a grease fitting. So I've got these big blocks. I think I've used those like twice, and they're handy when you need them. This is an older Lufkin depth set that I use quite often. Tooling in really good shape. I think I picked this up on eBay. The action on that, just the scroll on this is just, I mean, buttery smooth. It's probably the most smooth tool that I have. That's a micrometer. So I've held on to that for, well, pretty much, that's one of the original tools I probably started with. But again, you know, cut the Kaizen foam to where your tools are standing up when possible. Got plenty of clearance there. This is basically just storage. There's a couple of holders in here that are not in the machine right now. It's a lot harder to do. I don't know what's in there. Some of these are new. Some of these are what I've taken out, but I like keeping these holders around. This looks like just a small end mill holder. That's probably something I picked up on eBay. So the next row over, one thing I found useful is just to have a Kaizen foam bottom. Eventually I'll probably cut these and set them like this. But just an assortment of hammers. Let's see, this drawer, some more hammers, shop towels. And this is basically just spare stuff for the RO. Let's see, Scotch-Brite, and this is typically what I put on my machines when I'm not going to use them for a while, especially during the winter. This is for the coolant. This is basically, these are actually both for the coolant. Check the coolant, make sure it's healthy. There's a spare RS-232 cable. Everything else is pretty much either laying out on one of the tables over on the edge. You won't be able to see it over there, but I've got basically the BT40 mount that I can actually put a BT40 tool in and tighten it up. This has came in pretty handy. Little sterret punch set, I've taken really good care of that. And that's pretty much it for the actual machining toolbox. I'll go over to the mechanics toolbox, which has some stuff in it. A lot of stuff's just loose stuff, typically for sockets and things like that. I use an actual plastic cobalt set. I've got 2 of them. One that's a through hole and one that's like, you know, the black and blue boxes. That's typically what I use for generic tooling. And then I've got a bunch of stuff over here in the mechanics toolbox. This is Kaizen foam, and I'm getting ready to Kaizen foam this big large drawer here after I clean it out. I'm going to set this over to the side. I want to kind of show you what I got going on. So the top of this wasn't this messy, and it's not really Kaizen foam, but I think I got these at Harbor Freight, these big trays. So these are just loose things. I have arranged sets that I use, but this is more or less spares and, you know, weird stuff. that I may not use a lot. And I've got a lot of these sets, as you can see. Pittsburgh tool, this Harbor Freight brand, I really like these. I'm probably going to buy the other SAE set of these. They grip the bolts better and they're inexpensive, but these I've used quite a bit. Also, I've used these. I think I picked these up at Napa years and years ago. These are swivel metrics, 1/2 inch impact drivers. They work really well. Keeps them locked tight up here. Got a lock and lube, bunch of impact drivers. They're just straight. These are specific to some of the stuff I'm working on the excavator, so I've put these on this little bar so I can go out there and work on that real quick. So this is what you want to cut your Kaizen foam out, and the reason being it's adjustable. You can pick your depth, but this is typically the tool that's used. Most of these drawers are not necessarily super organized. It's really easy to make, especially a long socket. It's really easy to make a tray out of the Kaizen foam, as you can see here. All the other stuff's just loose tooling. Here's a more specialty thing. Got picks, got a bearing puller. There's supposed to be a valve stem tool here, and there's supposed to be a pipe wrench here. So I know that that's missing. And that's the important thing on the, there's actually a pipe cutter here. That's the important thing about it. Got a welding stick there, just a generic utility cutter, another pipe cutter. There's actually two, one smaller than this one. This is a Polaris clutch tool. The other, I have two of these. One has a little rubber bushing, but these are clip pullers for the Polaris. This is somewhere, probably in my truck still from the last Windrock trip. A clamp off tool for piping, and I use this quite a bit. I think I got this at Napa years and years ago as well, but it's a metric crow's foot. It's on a bar, and this is where they live, so it made it really nice to keep up with those. Most of my, like again, I have a whole actual tool set in plastic cobalt sets. Not that cobalt's great, but they work for me. But anything that I've had spare, let's see what brand this is. So this is a cheap Task Force. No idea when I bought that, but it's a fine ratchet Task Force. This is a Husky. So these are just ratchets that I had. This came from a Craftsman set somewhere. But what it allows me to do is I'll have these tools in here, and they're stored away rather than being put out. I have two of these that I've picked up, and that's probably the most ones that I use, is these, flex head dual-ended ratchets. Use that quite a bit, keep all the extensions here. Let's see if there's anything else. These are actually really handy. You've never used one of those. Those are really fast for getting bolts in and out. My favorite part of using this is the carrier bearing on a razor. You can get those bolts out really quick with this because you can angle it where you need it to actually get the bolt out. There's a lot of stuff in the way, and turn it really fast. So this is just junk. And you go down one more, and I've got basic screwdrivers, the bigger 1/2 inch stuff. There's usually a breaker bar here. I've got a really nice 12-volt probe. Got a couple of punches back here. Wire cutting stuff, torque wrench. So I think the breaker bar, and there's a Klein multi-bit screwdriver that I think right now I've pulled out of here and put in my razor kit from when I went to Windrock and have not taken it back out. So this is says snipering pliers. Don't use these. These really suck. These are pretty sucky too, but I have them, so I kept them in here. A couple of number 2 bits. And again, starting to lay out tools, kind of cutting out a slot, and then you can stack them this way, and you can fit a lot more in. You saw the socket drawer, saw that upper drawer. here's where all my electrical and strain stuff is. Usually this is completely full. Again, another meter or a test light. So some hex wrenches, some electrical tape, angle finder. Use this mainly welding. But usually this is actually full. So what I usually have in here are a meter and stuff like that. Again, all that's in the Windrock kit. And got a tubing bender for brake lines, etc. This is the empty drawer I'm getting ready to do. This is just various wrenches. Pretty much all this is just going to be various wrenches, almost all the way down. Here I keep most of my air stuff that I have left. Kind of most of my stuff switched to electric now. Most of my welding clamps, stuff like that, are here. And just various tools I use. So empty drawer. And I've got some specialty stuff here. So I've got a puller, a brake caliper set, and I'm pretty sure that is a spring compressor. Just a small set of tools, a hammer, just a water fitting, and a level, and another wrench. So just random tools. So most of this toolbox before looked like this, and I have not come up with a really good solution for these sockets. Best solution I've found, I've actually bought a cobalt set that's in a plastic box, and I really don't use these much unless I just need an extra socket. Got a couple of assorted screwdrivers, flashlight, stuff like that in here. And the other important thing is I have a big square here for welding and a little mag tooling bin. But that's pretty much my setup. If you saw my videos before, typically if I'm working on something, it is going to be out of those boxes. And what I do is when I go to Windrock, I take those two toolboxes with me, which are just plastic cobalts. And then I throw together stuff in a box. Kind of show you here. This is probably one of the better meters that I found for this kind of thing. You can pick this up on Amazon. I'll put a link for it. But for what this cost, one, it's not necessarily I wouldn't submerge this, but it's definitely waterproof. I've had it out in the mud. The nice thing about it is it has a beautiful display. So this is an Amazon commercial multimeter / semi-scope. You can kind of see what it measures there. It measures temp, capacitance, ohms. Main things I'm using for DC voltage and continuity. And if I can remember how to do this through the camera here, I think you just hit the range, or mode, sorry. So that is, this is the beat mode that we're all familiar with. If your meter doesn't have this, I would get a different meter. Obviously, you don't want to be powered up when you're using this function, but it gives you an audible indicator whether you've actually made contact. So I've got basically hex key set that's also in that electrical area. What I was saying about the snap ring kit, this is probably for everything that I've worked on thus far, and that's the excavator, razor, etc. These have never failed me. And this is a custom, so in other words, it's not interchangeable, snap ring kit. These work really well. I've also got one of the channel lock ones that are, adjust and you just flick a switch to go in or outer. I really like that. That's probably in this box as well. So pretty much everything that was missing in there, as you can see, that's the pair of I think it's the wire cutters and the breakout bar and etc. They're all in this box. So I pretty much throw everything in this box and take those other toolboxes, and that's usually what I take in the woods. Anyway, I hope this helps some folks out. And if you have any ideas on how to store those small sockets, be sure to drop a comment. I'm interested in knowing a better way of doing that. But anyway, I'm going to keep cleaning up on the shop. That's basically what I've spent today doing. Got everything out, and going to try to get this finished up and get all these tools put back. We'll talk to you later, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.